The Empire names its revival. Again the ministers draft renewal plans, where monks inscribe Latin verse, bureaucrats calibrate safe limits. Both call their labor salvation. Charlemagne scripted order into parchment. His scholars catalog the ancients, calling inventory enlightenment. Every sermon promised empire restored, every parish stayed illiterate. The movement ended as it began, archives intact, purpose forgotten. Now new rulers rehearse the ritual, technicians in paper suits praise efficiency. They chant sustainability, swear that radiance redeems the age. Old machinery returns beneath new branding, a mirror of the past polished for investors. Waste accumulates like unspoken confession. Two renaissances, one logic. Command substitutes for participation. Metrics replace meaning. Preservation wears the mask of progress. Each empire manages its own decline and calls the stagnation secure. Collapse, but slogans persist. Specialists write analyzes of the pause. Repositories of promise expand. Dry casks outnumber dreams. Neither faith nor vision escapes procedure, each promising safekeeping, each guaranteeing delay. So the caroling GM and nuclear stand together, two empires of preservation, two revivals without renewal. They turned ambition into record-keeping, risk into bureaucracy, hope into half-life, a single pattern through 1,000 years. Management mistaken for miracle.
Hello everybody, welcome back. That was awesome. That was rocking. That was rock and rolling, actually. That's totally different, eh? I love it. Here we go. A little bit out of breath here, trying to get everything perfect. And so whales are dying worldwide of starvation. And if every whale species worldwide was found emaciated, would you consider it an extinction event? These are thumbnails. And so we got a lot of die-off we're going to cover tonight. Emaciated whales, every species. It's the gallows laugh, by the way. Look at that whale up there. Holy goodness gracious. Look at the tail. You can see the head and the rib cage. And look at the tail and that blue whale up in the corner. I think that's a blue whale, if I remember correctly. That's tonight's. Excuse me. So there was I could have three thumbnail pictures in today's show. I can have this thumbnail picture, because that's in the show tonight. All of these are in the show tonight. severe emaciation. All of these are in the show tonight. This is crazy. It was last night's show of emaciated whales. That's just a fraction, right? I put out a thumbnail just as a reminder of how far down the hole we actually are, how late it is, how much danger we're actually in. When you're seeing all these whales worldwide of every species in catastrophic emaciation, because this is clearly, unequivocally, unassailably a broken food chain. And this is not isolated to whales. The whales are way up the food chain because of their mass. And so when you see nothing but bones and skin and organs, you really need to start paying attention. And when the people that are telling you that this is ship strikes, you need to ask yourself, what are they hiding? And when you go down that rabbit hole, you're dealing with reality finally, and that's the best place to start, particularly if you're new to this topic and this subject and this reality. Look at all these thumbnails of shows I've done, presentations, brutal presentations of heartbreaking. It's insane. We're doing another show tonight. I got so many nuclear shows packaged. It's absurd. This was 2015. I came across this one. So the food chain got broken in 2015. And the media came out and pretended that the reactors didn't melt down because Chernobyl was so bad it closed 9,400 farms in Ireland, Scotland, United Kingdom, which is the other side of Europe, which in order for the radiation to get there, it had to contaminate all of Europe. And when I say contaminated all of Europe, that's exactly what happened. And it wasn't just Europe, it was that ocean too, right? The Arctic Ocean and the Antarctic and everything else in between and around the planet. And so Chernobyl was a brutal accident. 9,400 farms, 3,000 kilometers away were shut down for decades. They should never reopen it. They only looked for cesium, allegedly. Not that they actually looked for it. The biggest byproduct of the fuel is curium isotopes with a 250,000 minimum year lifespan of incredible toxicity. And when it decays to its next decay, so it's not really a decay to a next isotope, when it morphs into another dangerous isotope, and then it does that 10 times. And so that's the only anthropogenic pollution we have that is capable of breaking the food chain. And the emissions are so small that the governments worldwide models and documentation of radioactive fallout looks like this after 20 days, 21 days. Neptunian after 25 days had decayed 10 times. And each time it's to plutonium-239. And so you're looking at 20 days. All of that is actually plutonium, and that's plutonium-239. And so the blue whales, for instance, when you see a 350, 400,000 pound animal, and all of these pictures I just showed you are within the last 10 months. So the radioactive fallout covers the whole planet. This was the French government. This is in 24 days, 22 days. And because it's a clip from a snapshot of a video, right? But so you got TEPCO's numbers, and this was the French government based upon a spike of 1 million to 10 million atoms of cesium-137 in the northern hemisphere, particularly the United States and Canada and New Mexico. And what that means is all your freshwater and seawater and landmass is saturated with multiple isotopes, and there's no species out there with an autoimmune trigger that can defend against this. This annihilates everything with replicating cells, so it attacks even the bases of the food chain, the oxygen chain, the carbon sequestering chain. And you need to get busy and learn about this stuff. So the reactors had 8 reactor cores around at the top of each of the 4 buildings and 2 different fuel pools in each building. So there was 8 fuel pools, 4 buildings, 4 reactor buildings. They were 190 feet tall, 150 feet wide. So they're 19 stories, 65 meters tall. And as you can see to the left there, that's the actual, what was left of the building in 2013. So officially that didn't happen, as I just showed you, right? That never happened because the media worldwide participated in a cover-up. In order for that cover-up to work, all the media had to participate, and all the universities had to participate for that lie to work. For CBS, which is the biggest media in North America, BBC is the biggest in Europe, and ABC is the biggest in Australia, and CNN is worldwide, for those medias to perpetrate that story, that they're at 150 feet above the stump, there could be no dissenting voices. I made this video, which is a screen capture here. I made the video 13 years ago. I said, I got him now. And I'm still here 13 years later. And you should be too. So what we noticed immediately was mass starvation events. The birds were emaciated. The whales are emaciated. The radioactive fallout symmetrically covered the whole planet within just a few weeks. That's game over for 8 million species, but it takes a few decades for it to play out. It's an extinction event. Let's talk about it. We haven't covered this particular whale, so we're going to cover this one. So as soon as you look at the head, now this whale likely died in 2015, was it? This likely died, December, almost 2016. The food chain got broken, but it also because of you had 4 reactor buildings with 2 fuel pools in each building. And so every 12, 14, 15 months, they're putting a third of a reactor core at the top of each of the reactors, and these sites are 30 years old, plus at that time. Which meant you had around 36 massive reactor cores. Each reactor core was equal to about 100 Chernobyls, because now Chernobyl was brutal, like you say, it closed 9,400 farms in Ireland, Scotland, United Kingdom, which meant you should have abandoned Ireland, Scotland, United Kingdom. Does radiation only seek out farms? So the entire Europe was incredibly contaminated. We have studies where they done sex ratio studies on the population right across Europe after Chernobyl. Fukushima reactors, Chernobyl was a small reactor. It was a brand new reactor. It was a graphite reactor. It didn't have fuel pools at the top of the building or anything like that, right? So it was a single reactor, but it was a small reactor. It was graphite, but it had the incredible attributes that it closed 9,400 farms 3,000 kilometers away, up to 3,000 kilometers away. All of Europe, they should have closed every farm, all the water, fresh water. They should have abandoned Europe. And so what happens with radiation fallout is when it's in your body of any species, each atom is pulsing energy at the speed of light in every direction like an explosion, right? So every second there's this explosion almost at the speed of light. Do you know anything else that travels at the speed of light? What it does is it slices up your chromosomes, your DNA, your cells, your genomes in all the species. And it does an incredibly effective job on targeting females, which are 4 times more vulnerable than the males. In other words, not more vulnerable, but 4 times more damage. 4 times quicker. It'll manifest in females of all species. And we're being snuffed out on this planet. And they've been doing it for 80 years. But Japan was a pulse event. Each reactor in Japan was equal to 100 Chernobyls because they were large reactors of pure uranium, pure plutonium. We broke the food chain, but we also poisoned the food chain. And so not only did it break it by depleting the food chain, what was left was incredibly poisoned. So the bioaccumulation in whales was incredible, but also in shellfish. Shellfish bioaccumulate radiation 125,000 times more than a fish does because they're filter feeders, right? The shellfish. And so I call it cancer in a dish or a heart attack in a dish. You know, people were going out in the first couple of years, particularly in Japan, and eating shellfish and having a heart attack that night and dying from it. There was 865,000 extra cases of cancer in Japan in just the first year. Do you got any idea what kind of incredible statistic that actually really is? 38,200 children, 13,646 had thyroid tumors, which means they're producing radioactive hormones for their entire development life. You got to protect the female species of this planet with everything in your soul. That's why we're here constantly doing the best we can, trying to rally humanity. But the nuclear industry knows exactly what they're doing. They knows exactly. They're waiting for you to stand up. And you can see right in front of this guy over here, the rib cages. Right there's the ribs. You can see the ribs. Count them right there. That's the peanut head. Incredible peanut head. Shoulder blades. All visible. That's not normal. It doesn't work like that. Let's get through this stuff. We got a lot to get through. And you can see the spine column. Let me go back one shot. You can see a depression. So that's the rib cage. So that's going to bulge right out towards me. But see how the spine is standing up? There's like this drop, and then it comes out to the rib cage. And it's the same thing up here. It drops down, and then that's the vertebrae standing up. There's no meat, no blubber, no fat up there. Like even 4 inches of blubber is still considered emaciation. None of these you're going to see tonight have close to that. And then the tail is flat like a paddle you use for rowing, but that's not the way it's supposed to be. These are huge animals. This is a fin whale, but this has the indelible markers of severe starvation. And it takes a long time for a massive creature of this size. Now, this whale only weighs about 1/3 of what it should weigh for its length on top of that. And that's a theme you'll notice in these shows, these presentations that we do here, is they'll claim the whales are 4 times heavier than they actually are. And we'll point that out tonight to you. And so when I'm first looking at this stuff, I'm looking for the best shots you can get, but I'm going through so much material each day. It's unbelievable amount of stress for myself, and I'm doing it every day. So it's no fun at all. But it's the most important story in human history, and it needs to be told appropriately. These are starvation events. As we get through, start picking. This one got quite a few screen captures because I was supposed to filter it, but I kind of felt that they were all necessary. Look how thin the tail is. Dead sperm whale washed ashore in Nantucket, 2025. And again, like that's a satellite tracker they got on it in case it washes back out. And they put the ropes on it. And there's one whale here tonight where the sperm whale would rope around his jaw, and he said it was rope in his throat and rope in his stomach, but it happened after it died, is basically what the park rangers were saying. As you know, somebody stuffed it in there. And because you don't see any burn marks from the rope on top of that. And it takes so long to be emaciated. I'm just trying to make sure you're well prepared to understand these presentations. As once we start rolling here, you won't need as much explanation, even though we'll hopefully... this is a starvation, this particular whale. And that's clear in the tail. Right now, that's the only picture we have to work with, but that's more than enough. It was a large sperm whale, 40 to 50 feet long, and weighed 104,000 pounds. That whale, not even close. I don't think it reaches 20,000 pounds. I'll show you what I mean. Like when I'm looking at a whale, how do I measure the whale? How do I quantify, right? So because there's no muscle mass here, there's no blubber or anything else, it's just skin, skeleton, and that's about it here. When you get to here, that's 1 ton, 22,200 pounds, 2,000 pounds. So when I get to about right here, that's another 2,000 pounds. When I get to right here, that's another 2,000 pounds. That's because of the organs. Not because of body mass, but because of the organs and the skin and the skeleton. And it's a big whale. So that's another 2,000 pounds. If you slice, right? If you slice appropriately straight up each time. So another 2,000, another 2,000. But you're talking about, I'm being over generous. So let's say it's 25,000 pounds. Let's say it's 40,000 pounds, which is absurd. Because the average person can't rationalize what we're saying. That doesn't mean it's not so. If it was a sperm whale, a large sperm whale, 40 to 50 feet long, that's quite a bit of a discrepancy when it comes to weight, by the way, 10 feet. And estimated at 104,000 pounds, which is not. That's what a healthy wood whale would be. But now you can actually see the spine. Right? Now you can see the spine, the invertebrates, right? And the fins of the invertebrates protruding out of the body. And the same thing down at the bottom of the tail. But now you can see how rough the body shape is actually in, where it had starved to death. That's why it ended up, like all the whales, they're ending up on the beaches from starvation events. So these are clearly not 104,000 pounds. So this is a satellite tracker. Once you zoom in, and not very often you get such a high quality picture, which makes it even easier to make the determination. But look at the ridges in between each of the vertebrae, right? Whenever you see those ridges, you're looking at the vertebrates, which means there's no muscle, there's hardly any muscle left. There has to be a little bit, obviously, but there's no master. So that's blatant starvation, what we're looking at. Right, there's, it's 1/4 of the weight it should be for its size. But I mean, because you got such a big discrepancy of 40 to 50 feet, but yet they're adamant about the weight, and yet the weight is at least 3 times more than the actual density of the animal, of the victim of the nuclear industry, of the broken food chain. Laboratory results are back on the death of the sperm whale found on the Nantucket. This is the same whale. So they say it died from a ship strike. And here's the whale coming in. You can see its spine, right? Very dominant. You should never see it, right? It should never, and kids are out there swimming up and touching the whale in the video. I'm not going to, because of copyright laws, I don't usually play the videos, right? Because the industry hates me so much, they'll take advantage of anything to spoil a presentation. The industry is just, it's been at this for 80 years. Japan was a pulse event. Roughly male, 50 feet. Now they're claiming 50 feet, weighing 104,000 pounds. But like when you're looking at it in water, it looks a lot bigger. Water magnifies it by 25%, and it gives an unrealistic girth to it because of the angles of light refraction in water. And I'm used to it because I was a commercial diver for so long. And I ran the operations on top of that, so it's a huge amount of responsibility all the time. An enormous amount, absurd amount. So because we're talking about sperm whales, I want to bring this one back in, this recent. This is the rib cage. Right now, sorry. The rib cage protruding, it looks like it's protruding out of the body like a tumor or something, right? No, the body mass is gone completely because you're looking at the shoulder blades where you have the ridge right there. And the head, that's all bones you're looking at. There's no meat barely on it. Just the bare necessity for a skeleton, right? But the skeleton is blatant. Now, look at the flat tail. It should be in the other. Bear with me. I can make it easier for you. I'll make it. Because you're going to see this again tonight. See how flat the tail is? The whole, that's typical layman will just call it a tail, but the whole back quarter of the body, you can see how it's like a flat, right? You see a couple of whales like that tonight. But because the sperm whale here, and this, what you're looking at is the skin, all the meat is gone, all the blubber is gone, any fat is gone, and that the skin, the whale cannibalized the skin. And we know that because the skin is so elastic because it's been cannibalized that it lays symmetrically on top of the rib cage, like a wet blanket. So the poor thing died the most horrific the most horrific way any animal can die, where it's starved to death. It probably took a year and a half. We didn't know pre-Fukushima how long it would take for a whale to starve to death, because that was inconceivable. Right? It's never been studied. There was never any documentation on it. There was never a paper wrote on it. Now, post-Fukushima, this is normal stuff. Now, the flattened tailed, the flattened body itself, think about that. Because the sperm whale is a bit different because of its head, right? But the flatness of the body really tells an important story of starvation that is hard to convey without the picture. Sperm whales in Lincolnshire Tuesday, so there was a lot of whales dying at the same time. And all of these whales were dying of starvation. And then they say no evidence of major traumas or entanglements. They want to blame it on your tin cans, your pop bottles, your cardboard. They want to blame it on you. And so they've done a good job at portraying it, but then when you read the story, you find out that there's no evidence. It's shameless. They're shameless people. So this was 3 of those recent whale die-offs at this time. And in particular, this bride's whale, or fin whale, I can't remember what it was. Yeah, that was a fin whale. Obviously, that's not a bride's whale. I don't know why I said it, but I did. Well, the peanut head and the shoulder blades and the rib cage is protruding. That's the wrong one. Sorry, I get stupid sometimes. So you can see the peanut head, the shoulder blades, and the actual rib cage ridge starts right here, look. And then when you look down the length of the body, look how flat the tail actually is, that flat tail again. That's why what they're doing is they're off their migratory route. They're coming into the coastlines, and they're looking for places to wash up and die, to swim up and die. That's why they're there. Some of them, we were thinking along the way recently that they were having Alzheimer's and dementia effects from the starvation, which is probably true too. But we're thinking instinct has driven them, because they're way off their migratory patterns. And we're seeing this is what they're doing symmetrically. And for everyone that we find, there's at least 10 more that sink. Now that was applicable to healthy whales. We don't have healthy whales anywhere on this planet anymore. We have whales with radiation poisoning, for starters. So they have radiation sickness. And what happens with radiation sickness in the whales, and that's been happening heavily especially in that first year when you had 36 reactor cores release their particulates into the environment. The particulates are splitting atoms. They're perpetual machines. So you have gammas, alphas, neutrons, and betas, isotopes in atoms, combination, whatever you want to call it. Like we're talking layman's terms, which are anthropogenic, man-made. And then you have particulates. And now with gammas, alphas, neutrons, and betas, you also have X-ray. X-rays are a result of gammas, neutrons, betas, and X-rays pulses of energy. So man-made radiation pulses energy every second like an explosion in every direction. And when they hit each other, the gammas, alphas, neutrons, and betas, they don't pass through each other. Think about that statement. What we're talking. So we're talking about a physical energy that is able to reflect. All right? So that's physical energy because it's pulsing at the speed of light. Like a whip doesn't pulse at the speed of light. The fighter jets don't go to speed of light. But speed of light in this context is wrecking chromosomes, DNA, cells, and everything else. And the animals, because they're bioaccumulated so much, can't uptake nutrition. So even if there's food there, they might, by 10 million generation habit, be in the midst of it, but they're not able to uptake the nutrition because they have radiation poisoning. Their body won't accept nutrition because it's full of white blood cells, so to speak. Well, in fact. So this is another severely, hideously emaciated whale. Security introduced to keep the crowds away from the dead fin whale on the Bridleton Beach. It's the same whale. What was the date? 2023. This was May the 3rd. Let me go backwards. I don't think this was 2023 for some reason. The 25-ton animal, that's not a 25-ton animal. That's not 25, and you can see the rib cage sticking out. The 25-ton animal, believed to be a junior male, well, they look like a junior whale because they're so emaciated, but they're actually not, because look how long they are. Died on Tuesday evening after becoming stranded in the United Kingdom. And so this is not 25 tons, and we probably won't get I don't think we get a really good shot on this whale, but 25 tons is 50,000 pounds, right? So you got to go all the way, cut off this section, or actually cut off that section to get a ton. And then you probably cut off that section to get another ton, and then cut off this, my mouse is giving me a hard time. Cut off this section, that's 6,000 pounds. Right here is 8,000 pounds. And then the rest of it is, say, 4,000 pounds. That's being pretty generous, by the way. And so say it's 6 tons at best. That's on a good day. And you only got organs. And you see its rib cages, right? You can see the shoulder blade is protruding above it. You haven't got a good shot at the head, I don't think, in this particular whale. You don't need it. You can see the concave on the shoulders and the head. Look at how thin the tail is, right? That flat tail again. Right? And what that flat tail means is, like you're seeing up there where there's no body mass, that body mass is gone, and that's why the rib cage is sticking up like it is. Because it's just a skeleton, skin, and organs. That's what you're dealing with. That's such a vital picture. I apologize, these are difficult shows and presentations to do. And so here you got an illusion of a huge whale, right? But when you get up close to the whale, and they like to get the camera down below the whale on the ground and then shoot up like you're shooting up. And the whale looks huge when you do that, right? Excuse me. But the minute you see the rib cages, you don't need any other pictures to know what's up. So when you look at this whale here, and we measure the tonnage, right? And so you got to come all the way up to here to get the first ton, right? So you got to go up to here to get the second ton. You got to go here to get the third ton. You got to go here to get the fourth ton, and that's about a half a ton left. So say it's 6 tons, which is ridiculous to suggest it is. 12,000 pounds. That's a far cry from 50,000 pounds. You get this shot at the head now, you can see the peanut head. You don't need it, you just need to see the rib cage to know it's an emaciated animal. Or in this case, the flat tail. Like the ribs protruding out of the body is because there's nothing there. There's no meat. The meat was cannibalized to keep the animals alive. We didn't know they would do that. We never dreamt that they can become this emaciated. Why would you, right? This is not a 25-ton animal. On a good day, it's 5 tons. We'll exaggerate, say 6 tons. But in reality, it's 5 tons. So where's the other 20 tons of the animal? Because all you got is skin, skeleton, and organs. This was 2012. So these whales in 2012 were bioaccumulating the hot particles from the massive fallout from Japan. And let me explain that again. Now, you got to realize every isotope in the book is in this plume. Now, think of a snowstorm coming out of Japan. And here it goes out of Japan, and it's going to go to 30 days when this depiction stops. Or maybe this is 16 days, I can't remember. But anyway, you're approaching day 10 right there. Or day 20 right there, rather. Yeah, so it's going to go to 30 days. There's two different models of this one from the French government of 1 million, 10 million atoms of cesium-137. So think of radiation fallout as a snowstorm that starts, say, in Japan, and after 30 days, it covers, 20 days, but say 30 days, it covers the whole planet. The snow never melts, it never goes away, and it never stops snowing. And because there's particulates in this from decannibalization, so when the reactors melt down at enormous temperatures, anything that touches it is atomized and aerosoled, but it's also ionized and radiated. So even metal and steel and cement and water or whatever, furniture or cabinets or whatever, that ends up in proximity are atomized and aerosol, ionized and radiated, and they're a lethal plume. But it's particulates. And each particulate, wherever it goes, wherever it's going, it'll be splitting atoms. It's a perpetual machine. So it's not like a conventional isotope, where the particles, you're talking about 30 years of fuel, around 36 reactor cores particulated. And cannibalization for many, many, many years of the inventories or the water they were spraying on. It was all atomized in aerosol and released back into the environment. And this is lethal to everything with replicating cells forever and ever and ever. But in the ecosystem, it's catastrophic. See the beach whale before it died? Look at we got some clear. The first few pictures, this is a 60-foot fin whale, I believe. And so it was getting the hottest particles, right? So the bioaccumulation of every species was immediate and catastrophic worldwide, the entire planet. So the whales, which eat an enormous amount every day, like, how would I put it? You know, they eat thousands of pounds of small animals a day. Like the gray whales are sucking mud off the ocean floor, right? And they're filtering out the crustaceans and microscopic animals. But that's where a lot of the radiation had settled, very hot particles, right? Had contaminated the phytoplankton, the zooplankton. And so any species that are eating that are getting catastrophic bioaccumulations of hot particles. And so in that first year, this was radiation poisoning that caused the animal to emaciate like that. Now remember, the industry has been releasing radiation from 400 plus reactors worldwide into the oceans and the environment for, full steam now, 60 years anyway, say, right? But the nuclear explosion contaminated. So we started seeing, like, our planet would be amazing if the nuclear industry didn't show up. Your planet would be amazing. There wouldn't be many places you can go that you didn't count 50, 60 animals. The migratory birds would blacken your sky out every day like they used to. Your planet would be, we broke the food chain during the nuclear bombs, the nuclear war they called testing. Well, that's the same radioactive fallout. You had 1 million square miles in 2019 of the Marshall Islands that are still too radioactive to be inhabitable. All these decades later. You still can't go to the islands of Maralinga. You still can't, without getting poisoned, or Christmas Island where the babies are born that looks like a bowl of jelly. So this is severe emaciation of this whale. And the pictures will get a little cleaner here shortly. They're coming up right now. There you go. And this is catastrophic starvation we're looking at. Look at the ridges of the spine, the shoulder, the invertebrates. Invertebrates. And the rib cage is protruding out of the side of the body. This is horrific starvation. And this was going on before Fukushima, but Fukushima was a pulse event of 36 massive reactor cores of pure uranium plutonium. There's 1,000 fuel pools worldwide splitting atoms directly into your environment. There's no containment. And the biggest releases from a fuel pool or reactor meltdowns or anything else is curium isotopes. Curium isotopes are catastrophic. And they live basically for at least 250,000 years, most of them, and they're catastrophic. You need lead shielding 2 inches thick, whereas for plutonium is 0.1 inch. Plutonium killed all the animals in the research institutions. Multiple tumors, by the way, just a single isotope. Most of them will die of bone tumors. And of course, if you got bone tumors, then you're producing radioactive stem cells. So imagine what's happening to the species. So that's severe starvation you're looking at. A 60-foot-long finback whale, 35 tons would be 70,000 pounds. So this whale, at best, maybe 15 to 17,000 pounds of skeleton, organs, and skin. That's as post Fukushima. We've never before Fukushima we never dreamt that every species of whales could show up starving to death. We never conceived that was a possibility, right? Breezy Point, Queens. Yeah, blue whale. Look at the tail on it. I just want to bring up the poll for 1 second here. If every whale species worldwide were found emaciated, would you consider it an extinction level event? And then you got to think about what is the catalyst for this. It's the nuclear industry has broken the food chain. But Fukushima was a pulse event, and that tipped our planet over. And it's urgent that we respond appropriately to what had happened, because we are in real trouble. And the human effects is catastrophic worldwide. Let me get this right. Sometimes I smurf up. There we go. So this is a blue whale. They get up to 400,000 pounds. And when you look at the tail, you got to ask yourself, where's the whale? Because here the whale is just blown up. But you can look at the head, you can see it's just bone there. You can see the shoulder blades protruding up there in the rib cage. And down here is the telltale sign. Again, you're talking about a 400,000 pound animal. So let's do the configuration. So you got to go all the way up to here to get the first ton. And you got to go all the way up here to get the second ton. Right? So the tip of the fin. I'll back up the picture for you. So now it looks like, now it doesn't look. Bear with me. So right here it would have been 4,000 pounds for that back part. That should weigh 100,000 pounds. So from here to here is another ton. That's 3 tons. So let's say that's 4 tons. If you chunking the whale off at these chunk right here, that's 5 tons. That's 6 tons. That's 7 tons. I'm being very generous, by the way. That's 8 tons. That's 9 tons. Even if we fabricate how much weight we're talking about in each of my movements, let's say 12. So let's say that's 12 tons. Say that's 15. Like that part there only weighs 1 ton. So you're around 22,000 pounds. Right? Because it's blown up there. Once that deflates, it'll look like the tail. It should weigh 100 tons. Or 200 tons. It doesn't even weigh 12 tons. And clearly it's a big whale, right? This is starvation. and poison, radiation sickness. Now, the whale was 79 feet, so this is definitely a young adult minimum. A healthy 79-foot whale would weigh 130 to 150 metric tons, 2,200 pounds. So that's 330,000 pounds. So that whale does not weigh anywhere in proximity to 330,000 pounds. Let's say it weighs 50,000 pounds, which it doesn't, which is absurd, which you cannot get 50,000 pounds out of that whale. Where's the other 300,000 pounds? Where's the two? You can deny it all you want, but you can't beat me in a debate. And the reason I can't be beaten in a debate is because I'm honest. And I only deal with facts. I don't have opinions. There's the evidence. The evidence is incontestable. Uncontestable. The massive blue whale was likely hit by a ship. But when you look at the tail here, you can see let me show you the tail. Tails are so important. When you see the tail flat, because we got sharp eyes, we know right ourselves, right, what to look for. But you can see the vertebrae. The tail is flat. It should be like 100,000 pounds down there. There's maybe 4,000 pounds, because you're only dealing with you're not even dealing with organs down there. You're only dealing with skeleton and skin. And you can see the ridge on the top and the bottom in this picture. And the industry is really good at not giving you blatant pictures. It happens, but not very often. So you can see the ridge right here. And then you can see blatant ridge up right here where my finger's going. That's a blatant ridge up there. That's the fins of the vertebrates of the spinal column. Or you know how the vertebrates have fins, right? On 4 fins on it, on the skeleton. And then this part here is bloated up. And so let's imagine it's 50,000 pounds, which is absurd. It's absurd. It's ridiculous to suggest it's 50,000 pounds. Well, we'll do that just to get rid of any ninny and anybody out there. Oh, Dad, it's not 12,000, 20,000 pounds, it's 25,000 pounds. People will fight you over 5,000 pounds on a 350,000 pound animal for some reason, because they can't rationalize that doesn't make any difference whether we're both wrong or right by 5,000 pounds. And I'm over guesstimating everything. Starvation. 2016, you don't need to be very intelligent to know this animal starved to death. That's a starvation. And Roy Carpenter's Beach is we've seen a lot of whales since that. Now look at this whale here where they're on top of it. And sometimes you got to wonder with these people. I could easily be AI this day and age. We've seen them where they had the eyeballs were actually great big with big lashes hanging out of the eyeballs when they put up the same type of pictures of real stories. They're shameless. The industry is shameless, man. Dozens of whales with empty stomachs wash ashore along the west coast. So they're saying this animal starved to death. They say that's emaciation, which it is. But the whales I showed you already were incredibly emaciated, right? You don't have to become, to get down to 4 inches of blubber to die of starvation, for instance. But that's what we're seeing whales. Remember, for every whale, there's 122 gray whales this year so far. Well, it's more than that now. But that number was 1,342 whales died in the same area, but only 1 in 11 washed up on the beaches. That's the consensus. But the consensus is based on healthy whales. The other 10 whales for each whale sank or went somewhere else. but didn't come into an area where the population was finding it. So, but we don't have healthy whales anymore. We haven't either since probably 2016. And so the numbers they're giving you are absurd. And so it's appropriate to multiply it by 2.4 with the final number, which gets you around 32 to 3,600, give or take 400 or 500, which you could easily, because they're all emaciated. And so the standard model doesn't work for emaciated animals because they're different, right? They don't have the buoyancy anymore. They have nothing to keep them buoyant. They don't have any muscle or fat or blubber. And so they will blow up, and that's what you're looking at. That's the carcass of a gray whale that washed up on the shore. They gulp down sand in their mouth, and then they filter out the amphipods or tiny invertebrates dwelling in the mud and seafloor sediment to eat. So they're getting brutal doses of the radioactive fallout. They're getting hideous doses of radioactive fallout by slurping up the mud. However, lately the number of whales observed during these migration and spectacles has been dwindling at a worrisome rate. More than 690 gray whale strandings were documented from December 18 to November 2023. So when Fukushima happened, there was an estimated 27,000 gray whales. You can call in if you think I'm wrong or you want to talk. 709-740, we're in Canada, 4076. 709-740-4076. Or you want to buy a motor, I can get you in contact with the dealers, or you can pick one where I'm to by getting in contact with me and pay for it, and we'll get out there and get some more research. Our motor's been to Alaska 6 times for 6 years, 4 to 5 to 6 months a year on the ocean. And we're in desperate need of support to get back in the game of research. Now, what we found during the research expeditions were any starfish we found were disfigured, deformed, and full of cancer tumors. And so we need a new motor for that boat. That's not a 90, that's a 115. Lost the hood in a storm, and in a rescue, actually, and got another cover for it, right? But by rights, I need a 150 on that boat because that boat is heavily modified, right? It's fully outfitted with all the gear, radar, sounders, plotters, etc. And put a cabin on it. We have a diesel stove into it. It's meant to go out, stay dry, and always come back. And those particular Coast Guard Zodiacs, they have a Kevlar bottom. And so that's been to Alaska 6 times. 6 times. And just let me introduce you to a little bit of that. So we went from Vancouver, British Columbia to Alaska for 6 years, doing species counts. After Fukushima's massive nuclear meltdown and radioactive fallout. And we got an incredible amount of documentation and decided to do research expeditions. And the species to your left are exterminated. So I went back 6 more years. I've redone the entire expedition 4 to 5 to 6 months a year for 6 years because the species to your left are missing. And so we wanted to go back for at least 1 more year, 2 more years to see if the species recovered. And because you didn't recover, we went for 6 years. And the species clearly... Now, the first year, I was hoping to find an oasis. And that didn't happen. So each year, then we had to go back and we had to do everything in our books to see for sure that this was an extinction event, because it was kind of hard to accept It wasn't so much for me because I was a commercial diver. I'm familiar with the whole coastline anyway. And that was my typical day. That's your typical day on the tropical rainforest. There's 27,000 islands up there, so it sounds like it's pretty safe, right? But in between the islands, this is what it's like. It was madness. And so I currently don't have a motor for my Zodiac to get out and do the research. So we got a brand new small Zodiac, but I could do so much better if I had a big one and a small one back up and running, right? So we still have two motors for the small Zodiac. We have a brand new one, but we don't have a motor for the big boat. And Greenpeace won't do the research. None of the environmentalists out there will do the research. Right, the big shot environmentalists won't do the research. And so we went out and done the species counts, and the species didn't recover. And the media claims it never even happened. So it's hard to convince people that are not watching this stuff and getting educated. Once you watch this stuff and see it, you realize what I'm saying is so. Right? You can't deny what I'm talking about. Right? And you tow that all over the coastline year after year. And you go from one end of the coast to the other end of the coast, and you get all the documentation that this is an extinction event, and all I get is censored. All I get is they choked off almost every ounce of support, and just a few people that are wise stayed strong and true. And we are still struggling to do the moral and ethical thing that the world desperately needs to do. And the world will always ask the question, why didn't we go out and look? Why didn't we go out and document the die-off, the extermination? Well, that's what we done. Nobody else done it. And that's humiliating to say that, by the way. And we ran the whole operation is very old now. We have all broken, rusty equipment, but we're still doing the best we can. We have no quitting to us whatsoever. All these years later, we're still going strong. And to maintain this whole operation integrity, right? We try to do 4 or 5 shows a week, presentations. So at least the world, if they can find us, will be able to make decisions afterwards based on documentation and facts, not on deception and deceit and dishonesty from the control opposition, which is your universities and your medias were captured during the Manhattan Project. And way past that. I'm looking for where we left off. Because I have different sessions. That's how I'm able to preload everything and do what we're doing. So instead of that whale being 330 pounds, which is what they said it is, it's maybe 12,000 pounds. Let me get back to where we left off. Oh, we didn't do that one yet. I'm smurfing up here. My apologies. Yeah, that's where we left off. Okay. Because normally I'll pick the number. Right now I'm at 1108. 690 gray whales. Okay, let me come back to that one. 6,000. Okay, I know what to do there. Here we go. 690 whales. So here's how you do the math. 690, but these were emaciated whales. This is totally different between 2018 and 2023. Just gray whales, not the other whales, just gray whales. Okay. So you got to multiply that by 11 to get your number. the consensus number, which is 7,590, just along the American coastline. Not counting the world, but just American coastline, had died in that same period. But that would be using the conventional models, which are based on healthy whales. These are not healthy whales. These are emaciated, starving whales. And I always use the word starving here because there is quite a few people, surprisingly, I noticed over the years, that didn't know what emaciation was, and they're the lucky people. They're the blessed ones. No one should know what that word means. So it wouldn't hurt to multiply that by 2.4 because the whales' health are denigrated to catastrophic starvation. So if you multiply by 2.4, that's 18,000 out of 27,000 pre-Fukushima numbers. Now that's more realistic. And then since 2023, they haven't updated the numbers. Now they claimed there was 13,000 left, but it wasn't. And we were very vocal about that in 2023 when they made that assertion. So far this year was 120, well, there's more than that now, but the last number we had was May the 26th or something. At that time, there was 122 gray whales. We're not talking about the other species, just gray whales. So multiply that by 11 to get the consensus. The academic consensus is 1,342. And multiply that by 2.4 because the whales are not healthy as the models that are projections are used. They're always starving, severely emaciated. So now that's 3,220. So plus 18,200. What did I do? 18, so let me do, I screwed up, that's okay. 18, 19, 20, 21,000. So, I don't know what I clicked there. I divided it. Oh, I'm an idiot. Doesn't matter. So what you're talking about is there's 6,000 whales, gray whales left, but the numbers we're talking about are only along the American coastline. So the whales didn't just die along the American coastline. They died on the Canadian, the Mexico, the Europe coastlines. They've wandered all over the world, showed up in places they've never been seen before. I mean, whales never started going to San Francisco Bay until 2018. Oh, I already done the math there. I'm an idiot. Investigation of most of the recent whale carcasses revealed they were suffering from malnutrition, starvation. And they refused to be, just be blatant and tell the news as the news demands, right? Instead, they play this game. The principal cause behind these starving whales, and then they want to blame it on climate change, is if your cops pull you over for speeding, you're supposed to say, if they ask you why you're speeding, you say climate change. If your partner asks you why you're late getting home, you can say climate change. That's a legitimate excuse, not for anything. Climate change is real. It's 80 years of radioactive fallout. And instead of carbon, which means more whales, more birds, more plants, more trees, more insects, more bacteria and fungus for the roots of the plants and trees in the ecosystem of forests, and it's more of the 8 million species. Radiation, every atom in this invisible snowstorm covering your planet is pulsing energy at the speed of light and attacking everything with replicating cells for the rest of its life. And if it's inside the body, it's a catastrophic reaction. It's not supposed to be on your planet. And that model is a spike. That's a spike of 1 million times. That's the French government. I only deal with documentation. That's why we don't have my detractors assassinate my character instead of debating me. They only assassinate me. And they've done a pretty remarkably good job of that, I must admit. And they control the censorship. They control, nuclear industry has a lot of lobbyists that have the keys to YouTube, and they got no one to pick on, so they shit on me 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So that model is 10 million atoms of cesium-137. Each cesium-137 pulses energy 600 feet. If your whole planet is covered in a poison that pulses energy on top of that 600 feet every second, what kind of trouble are you in? Why aren't we having a debate? If every whale species worldwide were found emaciated, would you consider it an extinction level event? I'm surprised we didn't get a whole bunch of thumbs down on that one. Warning as rare whale washes up on the beach. It'd be rare to get a picture. A southerly beak whale. So the southerly beak whales in the United Kingdom in 2016, I believe it was, we covered that recently again, was they had found 81 in 2 months in different stages of decomposition. But because we covered it as it was happening in 2016, in just a few months it was over 100, which meant they came out with a story, and I got it there in my endless pile of this stuff, of estimated 1,000 would have died in that same period or more. Right, but they were in different stages of decomposition, and all things that we seen was starvation. They all had that one thing in common. So the starvation was happening over quite a period of time for that particular food source, which is true. We broke the food chain, see? It's an extinction event. Whale carcass naturally decomposed at the 13th beach, 2024, September, almost the end of what's called 13 Beach. Why are so many whales dying on the California beaches? Look at the tail, the back quarter of this animal. An epidemic of whales washing up on the west coast, an epidemic. We got no views, no likes. We got 18 likes, which is amazing for me. The censorship on me is brutal. Hi, everybody, 14. Can you imagine doing this show now for a decade and a half? And all I can get on my show is just, I got less than 2,000 subscribers. I got 1,200 subscribers. My other site had 28,000. We were looking for spiders 400 kilometers away in the woods, and they took down my site when I was proving there was no spiders in the forest. The nuclear industry loves you. 1.8 thousand subscribers. I've been like that for the last year, 1.8 thousand. Every month I keep the same number. Last month I had lost 3 subscribers. The month before that I lost 4 subscribers. No new subscribing gains. The number stays the same, right? People subscribe, but then when they're not paying attention, that gets deleted apparently. It's pre-programmed in. When you subscribe, it's pre-programmed, you get unsubscribed very shortly after. They don't have to do nothing. It's not like they're monitoring you. They don't need to do that. It's just, it happens naturally. That's why I say to people, put me in your bookmarks. Don't worry about subscribing to me. I couldn't care less. But I do care if you don't put me in your bookmark, because you can't find me down the road and get educated. Let me come back to this one. A headache, I'll leave. I got a headache right now, but the show's got to go on. The presentation has to be we have to have a conversation. We can't keep up with it. And so if I don't do the show tonight, then I'm backed up another show. And so headache or not, I got to do the show. I call it a show, but these are actually presentations, clearly. But look at the back quarter of that whale. How much of that whale will it take before you get your first ton? People don't think, right? So if you go from the tail all the way up to here, you maybe got a ton, but it's only because of the skeleton. And then now you're going to start at the organs, right? So when you get to here, or say right here, that's your next ton, because you got organs now, right? And you got a little bit more bone mass. You got rib cages starting here, so that's 3 tons. So say that's 4 tons, which is not. It's still only 3 tons. So say that's 5 tons to here, 6 tons to there, and then whatever remains of the head is 7 tons, 14,000 pounds. Well, it should weigh 80,000 pounds, that whale. Why are so many whales? Look at the tail. Holy smokes, eh? And we can't see its spine because it's on the other side, right? It's upside down. 40-foot long dead gray whale. A healthy 45-foot gray whale would typically weigh 30 to 35 metric tons. 77,000 pounds. The whale might weigh 12,000 pounds. So when I talk about severe starvation, I provide all the evidence, and people can enemy say, no, it weighs 5,000 more or 5,000 pounds less. Well, the nuclear industry I'm talking about, they won't do that. No, Dan, it's like 20,000 pounds. Yeah, but it's supposed to weigh 70,000, 77,000 pounds, 80,000 pounds. What happened to it? Well, it starved to death. Why did it starve to death? Because you didn't recycle your tin cans, your pop bottles, Dana, and your cardboard. And then you find out they work for the nuclear industry. Their job is to cut everybody's throat so they can get their paycheck. Like if I was raising enough money to cover one of their apologists' wages that they get paid $100,000, $150,000 a year to destroy people like me, if I was getting that every year in donations, the nuclear industry would be in big trouble. Because I'm pretty frugal, but we have a big operation, right? So and everything is breaking down. You gotta keep focusing on the big picture. Is that we can't jeopardize the truth. The truth has to. We have to document every year in order to have that collective of information to show through the field studies and stuff like that. We can say now, yeah, we've done the research, we've done the field studies, the species are not there, and we've done that for 6 years, say for British Columbia, and so after 6 years, there's nobody can beat us because we have the documentation. Right, we're the last say on that. They didn't go and document it, so they're going to have to base their numbers on my documentation. And I provided GPSs of everything, and the species never recovered. And that's an extinction event. And there was 30,000 insects in those tide zones, on those 27,000 islands. And I spent 4, 5, 6 months a year meandering through that, doing research expeditions, species counts, and field studies. And I happen to be, whether people realize or not, I'm actually pretty observant. I'm dedicated to what I do. And I'm dedicated, like most people can't even conceive. I'm 24/7. I wake up and I go to bed, this is on my mind. I wake up and this is the first thing I do, and continue to do it for the entire day until I go to sleep. When my eyes open, I'm focused again, period. And thank goodness at least some of us are out there, right? And we're able to tell that story appropriately with the documentation, and we will not be denied. Right? The reason there is no nuclear renaissance is because we exist. That's a fact. We know that for every one whale that washes up on the shores, another 10 whales can die offshore and never be seen. But that's based on the healthy whales. We don't have healthy whales anymore. We have emaciated. So that statistic is totally different. For every whale we're finding, 30 sink or more. And this is symmetrical through the species. Hence the reason the pole is the way at night. If every whale species worldwide was found emaciated, would you consider it an extinction event? And the idea was to have that conversation. All my polls are about the show that night, the presentation that night, to keep people focused, subconsciously focused on why the poll, here's the information and here's the poll. So when you see the poll in the headline, the information in the whole show is meant to support that assertion, that documentation, that fact, with documentation and facts. So the assertion is always documented with facts. By one estimate, the total population of the species along the coast dropped by more than 7,000 animals, or a quarter of the population between 2016 and 2020. And between 2018 and 2023, there's around 18,000. Right? So when you get down the middle, now you're only talking about the West Coast. You're not talking about the range of where the Pacific whales are going to end up to. Right? They show up everywhere. They're not just isolated to our coastlines, right? Scientists still don't know why so many whales are dying because they refuse to be honest. They're dying because of starvation. They're dying because the food chain is broken. Right? That's the simple reality of this story. They're dying because of a broken food chain. Hello, everybody. Yeah. Hope everybody's doing well out there. Yeah, that guy out in BC, I met him actually. I had dinner with that guy you were talking about, Johnny. Let's keep going here. How are we doing on time? 1:17. One thing about doing these presentations, it's brutal, but when the presentation is over, I'm very grateful that I got through it, that I told a story, and like leading up to it is always this trepidation. Just 1 second there. My ice water is making a bit of a mess. And the thing is, right now, I'm backed up about 3,000 of these screen captures. I still haven't got to. And all the stuff you've seen is I got from today. New stuff I grabbed up. Because there's so much. I got at least 1,000 bookmarks of this stuff I still haven't screen captured. Wrap your mind around that statement. How much is really going on, right? It's not just grey whales, but they're being put on a pedestal, and this year is their last year. There will be no grey whales after this year. I doubt if they'll make it to the end of the summer by the looks of it. There'll be a few stragglers left, but they'll show up in horrific conditions. They have started to make stops in Bay Area to feed more. Well, they don't go to Bay Area, San Francisco Bay. They never went there to 2018. They're not feeding there. There's no food in Bay Area. It's absurd to suggest it was. That's what they do. They just lie, and they can't keep their lies straight. Bear with me a second. Alrighty, here we go. I almost forgot the volume that time. What I usually do is I'll keep my hand on the volume, because the volume is controlled by a preamp and an equalizer. And so it's right there, right above my mouse. All I do is reach up a couple of inches and I can then turn it back on, right? That works out so well. Especially if you got a sneeze or cough, or you got a dry throat and you got to take a drink of water. They have started to make stops in the Bay Area. Research in Mexico showed that many whales were now skinnier than they should be. Skinnier than they should be. That's not skinnier. That's a nightmare. Like if Hollywood was to do a movie before Fukushima about emaciated whales, they would never look like this. They would never be that skinny. They wouldn't know what to do, right? Where's the date on this story? Oh, 3 days? No, this one. No, that's not it. This one. It's not there. June the 21st. So let me hang on a second. I don't know. Well, their time of 2020. Let me see if any other numbers there are thrown out. I apologize. Normally I'm really good at capturing that, but you got to realize how much is in my tabs of this stuff when I'm doing this. You can't cover it all. They're not skinnier than they should be. They're emaciated and starving to death. There's no way to recover. Even if they found food, they couldn't recover because they have radiation poisoning. And the Arctic has been warming 3 times faster than the rest of the planet. So it's relatively simple to prevent ships from colliding with whales. No, it's not. The whales don't belong there in the first place. And if the whales don't get hit by a ship, they're still going to die within a few months anyway. The only reason the whale is there is because they're looking for a beach to swim up to. That's why it got hit by the ship in the first place, because it's emaciated. Storm washes, this is crazy footage. Storm washes a 30-foot dead whale ashore in Huntington Beach. Look at this. Holy shit. That's the ribcage. You can't really, because the animal is so emaciated. I'll zoom in here, hopefully, and show it to you. Here we go. Remember that, I'll get that picture for you. So see the rib cage poked up right there? Watch this. That's the rib cage poked up right there. You can't, because of the colors in the bad picture, it's harder to spot it. But that's the same thing, right? Except it's not a sperm whale with the great big head, and so the head has separated and there's no it had used up the tendons that would hold the head, the jaws and everything in line. They were cannibalized too. So there's only skin, organs, and skeleton. I mean, I seen that today. I was like, holy buddy. Look at the tail. See, the tail is everything, right? When you look at the tail of this emaciated sperm whale, the back part of the emaciated sperm whale, it's like an ironing board, right? And you can see the vertebrae's angles. I'll bring it up for you now. Here, hang on. You see the ridges right there? That's the vertebrae's, the little fins on the vertebrae's sticking up. There's a better picture. I found another picture of it. That was it. Only one, though. But that makes it easier to see. I'll bring it and line it up for you now. Just bear with me. That's Dana. That's not the one. I'll try to do this instead. I've done it to myself. Hey, wait for it. So we're looking towards the head. I'll line it up again. So that's the shoulders, or that's behind it is the shoulders rather. And that's the rib cage. And that's the fin part poking out there. And then the tail. Man, that's something, eh? That's starvation and overdrive. Here's a better shot of it. That is crazy to look at. You're going to see a bit more of that before they finally disappear, though, unfortunately. This is another whale on Fingal Beach. And I guess this is Australia or New Zealand, don't quote me. But look at, this is incredible to look at. But you can really see the vertebrates. I keep calling vertebrates for some reason. What the hell is going on tonight, Dana? Let me do a better job of this first, and then we'll... Bear with me. There we go. So you can see all the the vertebrae, the spinal column, the bumps. That's what you're looking at, the bumps, the ridges, right? And it's basically flat. And same thing up here. It's unbelievable how emaciated this whale is. If this was the only whale you've seen, it's terrifying. Hang on, I shouldn't have zoomed out yet. All I got to do is just zoom in and stay where I'm to, and then move the whale around. I get stupid sometimes. So that's the spine all the way back. So that's the ribs. So, the spine looks like this instead of like that. Right? The spine should look like that. Instead, the spine looks like a very tight triangle. And then it flattens out to the rib cages, because the rib cages, there's no blubber, there's no meat. The cartilages are denigrated. They were cannibalized to keep the whale alive. I mean, that is absolutely sickening looking. That is frightening. Horrific emaciation. And we're seeing so many like it at that stage, which means you can expect to see a lot more. Whatever's left out there, that'll be because we're so far down the rabbit hole now, 15 years down the road. The food chain and the bioaccumulation now is symmetrical throughout the species, all the species. So they expect that it was 75 feet long and weighed 25 tons. A sperm whale. That one's not a sperm whale. That's a different whale. That's a sperm whale there. We come back to this one. We don't have any more. You couldn't get access to the carcass. That's a different one I'm talking about. No, that's the right one. Oh, this one. I'm sorry. Fingal Beach. I still got it out there in my desktop. That's Australia. I still got it on my desktop. I didn't look for more headlines of that particular story, which is still on my desktop, so I will. That was 1 year ago. There you go. 1 year ago. It says up there 1 year ago. Gold Coast Bulletin, Australia. So that's Australia 1 year ago, I'm assuming. And it looks about right. This was a different story, though. And I haven't got the headline for that. I accidentally didn't screen capture that. Yeah, dead whale found 1 mile beach, Port Stevenson. Is that the same whale? No, that's a different whale. Okay, a large sperm whale washes up in West Donegal. A huge sperm Donegal beach. Don't quote me, but I believe it's 70 feet long and weighed 25 tons. You can't tell that picture, right? Well, that's definitely not 25 tons. This whale is different. This is a humpback whale. This was 6 years ago, 1 mile beach, Port Stevenson. And look at the peanut head, the shoulder blades, the spinal column sticking out. My goodness. My goodness. Right, I gotta zoom. It's better for me in this particular picture to move myself around and articulate why I'm saying the things I'm saying. Right, the peanut head, right there. The shoulder blades, right here. The rib cages is right along this ridge here, right? And so from here to there, the body mass is missing. From here to up there, it should be like this, right? Instead, there's this little plate there. and then it rises up into a V, a sharp V. That should never exist. So this whale is about 1/4, 1/5 of what it should weigh. That is horrific. What a legacy for the nuclear industry. This industry has to go. It is destroying and annihilating every species on the planet. There's nothing safe from radioactive fallout. The nuclear power plants are your enemies. And right now there's a desperation for nuclear power. Right? Geothermal is your solution, not nuclear power. Why would you want nuclear power when you have geothermal? You had geothermal since the beginning of time. Why would you want anything else? Well, how could you want anything else? What's the point of wanting anything else? You got 8 people on our show that we work unbelievably, relentlessly hard to produce. I got 20 likes. So you got twice as many likes as we got views. Twice as many likes as we got votes. Or twice as many votes as we got views. If every whale species worldwide was found emaciated, would you consider it an extinction level event? Should you? I think I should have put there. Should you consider it an extinction level event? I was debating that, and I decided to put it to the person that had never been here before, to give them a moment to pause and think that and realize, because that's the only way to imprint it in their heads, that this is an extinction event. That was the thought behind it. But 52-foot fin whale washes ashore in San Diego Beach. 52-foot fin whale. $52-foot fin whale. Okay, let me go back. Because I have... It's weird what my system is, but anyway. In order to zoom in like that, I have to... Well, I have a lot of options in my equipment. And I'm lazy sometimes, that's all. But when you zoom in like this... So we can zoom in like that. Let me zoom in like... Just bear with me. Right there. Let me put that in a preset. So I can zoom straight in. Because that's straight in, right? Let me go backwards 1 second. 52-foot fin whale. Did I do the math on a 52-foot fin whale? How much should a 52-foot fin whale weigh? Likely Malleus malt. No, that's different. So let me go back to the 52-foot fin whale. Dead 52-foot fin whale. Here's what I mean by preset. So I just click. That's a little fast, but because I get that at 19 seconds. I'll do that again. Watch this. Nice slow. But when you're talking, it makes it a little bit easier. Keep the screen active. So like that's what media is. I'm using the same equipment the media does. This is how they do that stuff. Usually there's 5 people operate the equipment that I got. Make everything pop, right? And so this just... Somebody want to look up what a 52-foot fin whale should weigh and put it in the comment section. And while you're doing that, if you do that as quick as you can. Now you got to go to the chat or something like that. You got to go to the AI. If you just go to Google, they're going to give you a bizarre number. It's never going to be the number you need, right? I guess I should do it. I'll do it just in case nobody does it. But if somebody does it, I'll check before I say it. How am I doing? How much should a 52-foot fin whale weigh? I'll bring it up on the screen. No, can't do that till I jump screen. Hang on. 52-foot fin whale. How much should a 52-foot fin whale weigh? Let me go back then. We'll go back for this part so I can. How much should a 52-foot fin whale weigh? Between 40 and 50 metric tons. Why is it doing that to me, I wonder? Why does it need me to sign in for it? It never needs it when I'm during the daytime. So say it weighs 40 metric tons. Assholes. So 40 times 2,200 pounds metric is 88,000 pounds. Okay. 88,000 pounds. Hang on here. All right. 88,000 pounds. Okay, let's move me this time, make it easy. So how much, where's the first 2,200 pounds? From here up to about right there. That's 2,200 pounds right there. Everybody agree with that? And from there to right here is another 2,200 pounds, so that's 2 tons. And from here to here is, say, 3 tons, which you got to go a lot further not to get 3 tons. From here to here is 4 tons. From here to here, say, is 5 tons. Say 6 tons. It's nowhere near that. That's 12,000 pounds. So you take 12,000 pounds away from 88,000 pounds. You get 76,000 pounds. Let me get one of those other pictures. Excuse me. Or maybe I made a mistake. Did anybody find a... Oh, sweet. James got a new Save the Whale t-shirt. Sweet, man. That's interesting. And the materials after getting nicer. Because we did put up some new shirts, mugs, and hats and stuff at my my online nuclear t-shirt stuff, sweaters and that. I got some nice stuff there, nothing special, but the message is really strong on each of the shirts. Like, it's fire, man. You wear that shirt to any typical work site, work in office or jobs or wherever, and you're having conversations all day. And if you watch a few of these shows, you're going to whoop anybody in the presentations. So again, this whale is 76,000 pounds shy, 76,000 pounds, which means you wouldn't be able to see the people on the other side of the whale. Back up there. Look at this juvenile. This was a 2-year-old humpback. Now, we covered this one before. Likely malnourished. No, that's not malnourished. That's emaciated. That's death stage starvation right there. Like, oh my goodness. Let me get myself back in the... Yeah. So that's the rib cages. Look at that. And then there's a void on the other side in the spine. The vertebrae, you can see the bottom and the top all the way back. And then the peanut head is absurd. So it was born healthy, but it couldn't find any food. It couldn't get any milk. And so it whittled away. Plus, it was already born with radiation poisoning, right? That's what we're seeing, symmetrical. That is friggin' nuts up there. They think it died of natural causes, starvation. Starvation is not natural causes for a baby. Since it was significantly malnourished and didn't have any signs of being attacked by killer whales or wounds from a boat strike, indications of illnesses or diseases, it died of starvation. Well, good job. Way to go. We're really proud of you. But that's not natural causes. The ocean, a glass of water would typically have 1 billion creatures in it. Now it's crystal clear. Now you can see the bottom anywhere you go. That is not normal. That is the furthest thing from normal. The water is sterile now. It can't sustain life. But look at the entire invertebrate spinal column sticking straight. Like there's nothing there, just a little bit of very thin skin, because the whale actually cannibalized that. And the shoulder blades are poking up. The peanut head is blatant. It isn't typical for these types of whales to be down here in Oregon right now, as its food source is located in the Arctic Circle at this time of the year. Well, the mother was starving, right? And it follows the mother. This was a giant fin whale measuring 30 meters and weighing 100 tons. Now, because water does a trick where it magnifies things by 25%, and it creates an angle which makes things magnified. Even worse, with the reflection of the light. But you can see the whole spinal column blatant, right? It's just like the pygmy blue whales we're seeing. Well, for the last several years, all of them are severely emaciated, all of them. They're the biggest, second biggest. Well, the blue whale is the biggest on the planet, right? The blue whale and the blue pygmy whale are only like a 10, 14-foot difference. 52-foot fin whale. That should weigh absurd amount of weight. Peanut head, shoulder blades. The massive, this is not a massive animal. Like you can see in this picture here, the spinal column, the rise of the spine. A fin whale identified, a massive fin whale. Well, this is not massive. It was supposed to be massive. It's supposed to be 52 feet long. I don't know, nightmares again tonight for Dana. But on the bottom and the top, you can see the fins from the vertebrae, right, of each of it, right, where it makes like a fin on the bottom and a fin. And there are, whales, the fin whales are called razorbacks, but they're not that prominent, right? They don't have peanut heads and shoulder blades and rib cages sticking out when they're healthy, right? And back here, there's 40,000 pounds missing back here in that section. There's only organs, skin, and skeleton again. Depending on sex and fat reserves. Really? So ChatGPT now is type of fat reserves when they're calculating the weights of a whale. Wow. Whales always have perfect fat reserves. That would never be part of that equation, but now it's slipping in there, right? Between 27,000 and 53,000 pounds for a 52-foot fin whale. I've never ever seen that kind of discrepancy before. They should be around 40,000 pound healthy to 53,000 pounds, but not 27,000 pounds. And that whale there maybe weighs 12,000 pounds. Let's be generous and say it weighs 15,000 pounds or 20,000 pounds. It's still it's emaciated. Extremely emaciated whale died in Florida with a rope in its stomach and wrapped around the jaw. So, yeah, there's a rope wrapped around his jaw. Look at that. I wonder who done that. And because you don't see any burn, any rub marks, it's not embedded in the jaws, there's no damage. Someone wrapped that around and took the picture. We've seen them do that before, by the way. And then rope in his throat. Now, anyone knows anything about a sperm whale knows they're not going to have rope in their throat. And they're toothed. They're the largest toothed whale too, right? So And they specialize in giant squid, so the throat is pretty big. So somebody poked a rope in their throat, and they said it was rope in the stomach. But I don't know how they quantify rope in the stomach when that whale wasn't far enough out of the water to do the autopsies or the necropsies that way, right? Extremely emaciated and very, very thin. So that there is what they call an extremely emaciated. You can see the shoulder blades, the peanut heads, blade, and the rib cages protruding. It was unclear when it swallowed the rope. Think about that statement right there. What does that even mean? I should be backed up a little more. The whale was very weak. Well, how can you quantify the whale was weak, but very much alive? You could hear it echolocating to its family. How do you know it's echolocating to its family? Like, who are you? You can see the rope wrapped around his lower jaw. Yeah, we did. There's another version of it. Extremely emaciated, eh? Blows my mind, regardless of what the idiot says in their paragraphs. I'll show you the caveat to that coming up in a second. But see, when you see this deformity, then that's your blatant emaciation, starvation. There's no burn marks around his jaws, so that wasn't there for more than... It wasn't there for only a short period of time. Somebody put it there clearly. If it was there for a day or two, you would see burn marks, you would see rub marks, you would see embedment, right? You would see discoloration. Right? There would be highly visible something there that would say that you would be blatant. They would say, yeah, no, that's been there a while. That's not what we're looking at. And that wouldn't stop the whale. Lousy piece of rope around his jaw. That wouldn't kill the whale. The whale wouldn't die of starvation. To die of starvation, the rope would have to be there for several years and be an issue. That's not what we're seeing. They believe the emaciated condition of the whale indicated it starved to death, likely due to the rope around his lower jaw preventing it from hunting. That rope didn't do that. It was unclear when it swallowed the rope. That's right. It didn't. Someone poked it down his throat and took a picture. Because evil has no limit, man. There's nothing too evil for evil to do. That's one thing we discovered. Over a dozen sperm whales died in Australia. You have any idea how hard it is to find those pictures? I'm still not finished. And I got a collection of it. We covered this story when it happened, right? That's an emaciated whale right there. You can tell by the tail, blatant. That's the sperm whale, and that's the tail. So when you see the tail looking like this, missing 25, 30,000, 40,000 pounds, you see the deformity of the body. We covered this when it originally happened, starvation. It was starvation. We had the documentation. I still have it somewhere. But you can tell by the deformity of the body, the missing lower body weight, right? 40,000 pounds or more missing from the bottom. A 50-foot sperm whale, that's almost as big as they get, in San Francisco in 2015. I got both of us, didn't I? Forgot that. So they don't even have a picture, so I had to go looking for more pictures. A healthy sperm whale should weigh up to 100,000 pounds. This is 2015 of San Francisco. So why would he do that when pictures of the whales, these are pictures now of the sperm whales. But that is an interesting 2015 picture, isn't it? Right, that was taken in San Francisco. Whales don't go to San Francisco. Well, since 2018 you do. So these are the pictures, some of the pictures. It was very difficult to get any pictures, any good pictures. But you can see the tail. Right, has the telltale signs of starvation. So you don't really need to see everything to appreciate. Now these are bloated. But the tail can't get bloated, see? Australia investigates that's the biggest lie on the planet. Canada investigates. The United States investigated whale stranding. That's the biggest lie you'll ever hear. Officials say with a biologist linking the incident to misadventure. So now we're entering the world of stupid. Misadventure. 14 whales killed themselves. Animals, right? Decided to swim up on the beach for something to do. Which is absurd. Pre-Fukushima, we've never seen anything like any of this, let alone this. But when you see their tail, right, so just the vertebrates, the most common reason for stranding events is misadventure. I've never heard that one before. That's a new one on me. I've been doing this for 25 years. I never heard that one before. That's the theory at the moment. You know, at that time, a couple of years ago when this happened, all the whales worldwide were still showing up emaciated. Why was this one attributed to a misadventure? And that was a theory at that. That was 2022, that story. A little stupider every day, right? And this was a professor. So that makes sense. 5 dead after New Zealand boat is suspected impact with a whale. Suspected impact with a whale. There was 10 or 11 women on this. My heart goes out to the families and the victims. And they probably hit a whale. I'm not saying they didn't, right? They could not confirm what it collided with, but what else could it have been? Well, it could be a container fell over a container ship. Most likely, though, it was a whale. It couldn't get out of the way because it's emaciated. The boat that capsized was chartered by a group of women. And they couldn't confirm what it collided with. I assume it collided with a whale. That is crazy, though, eh? 5 people dead. Now, my boat, if you've seen the whole show tonight, the presentation, you see my Zodiac. I've hit rocks with that boat at full speed. In the middle of nowhere by myself. And nobody's heard from me for weeks. Nobody knows where I'm to. And busted. One time I busted my face up. Because the GPS doesn't have all the rocks. And you got 27,000 islands and 3 to 5 million rocks at low tide hidden just below the surface, right? Well, at low tide, you got, instead of 27,000 islands, you got 270,000 islands. It's very dangerous. Oh, you can see the spine sticking out down there. Starvation. Down by the tail. Beach sperm whale in Australia. This is a different whale, though, 2021. Look at this fella here. Look at this. Holy sheesh. That's starvation and overdrive, eh? Wow. And if it didn't have the weight on it, you would see the rib cages would stand up. Well, you can still see the rib cage if you knows where the rib cages is too. Oh. See it up there? That bump? That's the rib cage. Can I go? I don't think I can go any closer than that. Oh yeah, I can. That's the rib cage right there. Poking up out of the body. In 2021, the next year there was 14 of these sperm whales washed up high and dry. That's the shoulder up there, sticking out. And if you can get in closer from the other side, you would see the peanut head. Now, sperm whale is one of those whales that has the weird head on it. But when you're looking at the tail, look at the tail. Look at it. There's 30 plus thousand pounds missing right here. Right from right there, from the edge of the screen behind me, down to here is 30,000 pounds missing. But look how flat that is. Let me just go back a little bit. Just so you can actually see the enormity of the starvation. That is insane. So none of these whales look like whales. They look like some alien creature, some creature never discovered. skinny whales, 214 gray whales wash up dead on the west coast that year in 2019. So let's do the math on that for a bit of fun tonight, because we've done it on the rest of it, the statistics that they're throwing our way. And so it looks like the voltage regulator we replaced in the big bike that we use for field studies is working. I'm not getting the jittery dashboards anymore. Now, mind you, I did take it apart. I did take the whole front apart of the bike, of the BMW, and made sure everything was snug. And that was just like a last minute thought. I said, well, I'll take things apart and I'll just make sure everything is snug and then whack it back together and I'll go and cook supper. I should have just left it apart, went out the next day and made sure everything was soldered, like all the solders were in good shape, make sure the connections were, which means I'm going to have to do, but you can see the back of the whale back there. Look, you can't really see it. I'll zoom in for you in a second here, but what did I come over here to do? Oh yeah, come over here to do this. So we had 214 gray whales in just that 1 year, 214. So multiply that by 11. Is 2,354 whales died along that coastline, just that particular area, in 2019. But because starvation changes the model, the scale that they're using to judge. So, like for every whale you find, there's 10 that you didn't find of the same species, which means you're talking about 11. So we multiply the number by 11 to get a final number, is 2,300. So you should multiply that by 2.4, because the whales we're talking about are no longer healthy. They're in death stage starvation. So that's 5,600 whales in that 1 year of gray whales. And my estimate is there's less than 2,000 gray whales and maybe 1,000 gray whales left. I'm leaning towards 1,000 gray whales left. I'm pretty confident there will be no gray whales recorded after this year. That'll be the end of it. They're gone. Now, I don't know about your Kung Fu. My Kung Fu is pretty strong. I bring all the documentation. My nuclear Kung Fu. Oh yeah, let me get back over to this one so I can zoom in for you on the back section, just so. Look at the back section. Holy shit. That's the actual back section, and the whale is way back there on like a T. So it's a very odd angle to get that, but because we're so used to it. But you see the deformity of its body, right? See how, like the concavement of the body, and the over. That's the rib cage is poked up in the ear because of the weird angle it's lying on, right? Here you can see the peanut head. I don't know if that's the same whale, but that's the same story. So 214 dead whales. Those are just the ones that washed up. The true die-off is unknown, possibly between 1 and 2,000. Or like I showed, a hell of a lot more. Because they're going on the statistics of for everyone you find, which is the scale is based on healthy whales, not on emaciated, dying, starving whales. So the underlying cause, whether or not discovered pathogen, which is pretty despicable to put that there, right? To float that out there in 2021. To put that narrative out there as an undiscovered pathogen was causing is pretty low. You're a pretty low form of life when you do that. As And as recently as last month, 2021, when the migrating whales should be fat and healthy, skinny whales were still washing up dead, which meant they were emaciated in 2019 for sure. If they're dying, because it takes about a year and a half, 2 years before they finally die. We didn't know. That's a healthy gray whale at the top and a skinny whale, emaciated whale, not skinny, emaciated. They don't have the fortitude and the courage to tell the truth. It's not my fault. I have to correct that narrative, right? These are not skinny whales. These are emaciated whales. Calling them skinny whales is very dishonest. It's meant to make the population incapable of comprehending the enormity of what's happening. A healthy gray whale top and a skinny whale below. It's an emaciated whale. And you see that bizarre shapes? So you can spot it anywhere yourself once you understand that little trick. You can tell a whale whether it's start. And when you look at the tail, when you can see the tail with the flatness like that, you can see the rib cage and shoulder blades protruding. That's severe starvation. And look at that picture there. I kind of screwed up. I was turned because that was the picture of the back that I wanted. And that's like 30,000 pounds missing right there. You only got about 1,000 pounds left. Because these whales, they still got their organs. The organs will still release gases when they wash up in the heat, and then they'll inflate, right? So when you're looking at the tail, at all these angles, then you're only left with one reality, and that's the best one. And even in this picture, you can see the tail. You can't see the tail, rather. Gray whales don't rely on just one food source, which should make them able to handle change, right? So pretending that Fukushima never happened is our biggest issue. These guys are the kinds of canaries in the coal mine with these large whales. It could affect other large whales as well. Not could affect, they're all in the same ocean. They're all basically eating the same food from the same food chain. Right? Let me see here. Yeah, we got some brutal censorship again tonight. That's a little disheartening. We worked so hard. Sperm whale washed up on the east coast of England 2023. And you can tell just looking at that whale, that's starvation. And keep the public safe. Man, how much arrogance do you got to have to say something like that? Really though. Well, we're almost through it. We only got 3 more clicks to go. So that's another severely emaciated sperm whale. So these were the 3 options I had for the thumbnail to solve. And you see that blackout above the whale here? That was people. I was just trying to scratch them out of there because I can focus better without people in the picture. I can judge better. So we'd have that thumbnail tonight, or that thumbnail tonight, or this thumbnail tonight. At 3. I can do that every day, and I should. I don't know why not. Now I'm going to have to go back through all my material and produce these. Because I think it helps. Well, I hope it does. I think it can help people grasp the enormity of what we're talking about. And so when people finally, and they eventually will find my stuff, they can only silence me for so long. Eventually the world will find my material. And then the nuclear industry is going to is in for the beating for the rest of their lives, for every second for the rest of their lives. Because we're not just on YouTube, right? A lot of people are downloading this stuff all the time. This will keep showing up forever and ever and ever. Whatever you put on the internet never goes away. I'll never go away. The industry will, though. Nuclear industry damage will never go away, but the nuclear industry will. And who knows, the world might come to their senses and have mass trials to hold these people accountable for the crimes against humanity and humans and the planet that they've committed. These are criminals. These are not academics and scientists. These are serial killers or murderers disguised as scientists and academics. These are loathsome people. They are degenerates, and they are a burden and a scourge to humanity forever and ever and ever. We have the moral high ground. And so this is the last chance to get a vote in, we're going to jump to a song. I think we're going to play Did I Sell Secrets to Pakistan, because I just adore that one. If every whale species worldwide was found emaciated, would you consider it an extinction level event? Just let me get set up for the last. I'll put a link in there for you. And I feel better now we got the show presentation put out there. And tomorrow I'll have so much more, I'll feel crap again. I might do another show tomorrow or early Saturday, because we only got 3 this week, but that's because we were doing field studies. We covered 600. We went for it, right? And I'm glad I did, because now we have a good sample of. And it's like summer's not even here yet. Still, like tomorrow's maybe 8 degrees, 9 degrees. The best temperatures for the next 7 days is only 12, 14 degrees. Summer will show up probably in July maybe or something like that, and August, September, and then it's. Let me do this first. I'm going to put a link in the description here, in the comment section rather. And if you're watching this after, you got to wait 12 hours to find the link. But you can go to my playlist and find it. And I'll put the name of the song here. Did I Sell Secrets to Pakistan? And that playlist is full of this fantastic stuff, eh? Thank you, Dana. Hi, Dana. Hugs for you, my friend. Hope you're doing better. I call it that's not the right keyboard. Okay, so if you come to check my chat room, the chat part of this video, 12 hours after the show, you'll find that link to the song. But you can go to my playlist, Anti-Nuclear Music, and you'll find the song, Did I Sell Secrets to Pakistan? All right. I didn't think I was going to make it through the first hour, to tell you the truth. But once you start telling the story, the importance of it supersedes. Like, I still got a headache, but oh, here we are. There you go. Did I Sell Secrets to Pakistan? And the first song is from that same site, James Lucid. There's links to that in the chat room. And in the playlist for music, you'll see it. Ooh. I'm going to turn the volume back on. This is such a fantastic song. When it gets going, I don't care who you are, this is an important lesson in this song, more importantly again, right? Of how the industry, this song's about 6,000 people were charged with sedition for protesting nuclear in India, which meant, and they were kept, trial was delayed over and over and over for years and years and years, And they couldn't leave their community. They couldn't get a job. They couldn't get a passport. They couldn't go to university. They couldn't open a bank account. They were ostracized so that they couldn't protest the nuclear industry in India. So this is an industry that is definitely not anybody's friends. And this song is about that. And they had to be re-educated, so to speak. Take care.
I stood by the shore and I said what I thought about Co Donegal near our homes. I spoke of fish and children at night. They said I was speaking against the state. I was not asking for anything grand. I only asked what came from that plant. They called it sedition for saying those things. Did I sell secrets to Pakistan? Did I sell secrets to Pakistan? Or did I say too much? If nuclear is so clean and safe, why call my worry sedition? Did I sell secrets to Pakistan? Or did I step out of place? If nuclear is so clean and safe, why answer me with handcuffs? They spoke of progress, they spoke of pride. They spoke as if nuclear was care. I spoke of water, boats and nets. They answered like I should not be there. Now I am wiser, now I am calmer. Now I repeat what they told me is true. If someone gets sick, it must be something else. Nuclear saves lives, or so they say. Did I sell secrets to Pakistan? Or did I say too much? If nuclear is so clean and safe, why call my worry sedition? Did I sell secrets to Pakistan? Or did I step out of place? If nuclear is so clean and safe, why charge me and put me in handcuffs? Now I get it, now I understand. Nuclear is clean. Now I get it, now I understand. It was only me. Now I get it, now I understand. I was making trouble then. Nuclear is kind and clean. That's what I say now here. Did I sell secrets to Pakistan? I only spoke of our shores. If nuclear is so clean and safe, why am I quieter now? Did I sell secrets to Pakistan? I only asked what it means. Now when they speak of a future built on nuclear, I say that nuclear is clean.